It's now time for the Mike Wagner Show, powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at sonicwebstudios.com for all your needs. The Mike Wagner Show can be heard on Spreaker, Spotify, iHeartRadio, YouTube, iTunes, Anchor FM, Radio Public, and the MikeWagnerShow.com. Mike brings you great guests and interesting people from all across the globe. So sit back, relax, and enjoy another great episode of the Mike Wagner Show.
Hey everybody, it's Mike from the Mike Wagner Show, powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at sonicwebstudios.com for all your needs. Look at a professional website without breaking your budget. Sonic Web Studios is the answer. Sonic Web Studios, fast, affordable designs below the competition. 303-3960. That's 1-800-303-3960. Your email to support at sonicwebstudios.com. Mention Mike Wagner. At 10% first order. Sonic Web Studios, take your image to the next level. Also, the Mike Wagner Show can be here on the MikeWagnerShow.com. You can check our Facebook page at Facebook.com/the Mike Wagner Show. You can download and listen on Facebook, SoundCloud, Spreaker, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Anchor FM, Radio Public. Also on iTunes, Google Play, Apple, and more, and over 35 podcast platforms. Take the Mike Wagner Show with you on any mobile device. Subscribe to the Mike Wagner Show on the YouTube channel. Also follow the Mike Wagner Show on Instagram and Twitter today. We're here with a wonderful gentleman from the other side of the pond who's got a brand new EP coming out, and he's also had quite a few as well too. A couple of Zephyrs, Leo's Guitar, and also started in 04 as the Deep Impactors, and he was actually influenced by Dire Straits. We heard Money for Nothing, Chicks for Free, and he says, this is what I'm going to do, but money is going to be everything, and I'll get the chicks whenever I want. Also influenced by some earlier blues guitarists like Stevie Ray Vaughan, Eric Clapton, John Lee Hooker, Buddy Guy, Johnny Winter, Muddy Waters, and more. And, of course, this guy's on a caravan to bring out great music. Live, ladies and gentlemen, from the other side of the pond in beautiful Finland, ladies and gentlemen, from Izzie's Caravan is Izzie. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Thanks for joining us today.
Hey, Mike. How's it going? Glad to be here, man. Yeah.
Hey, I'm doing great. So, yeah, you seem pretty modulated and pumped up, and I guess you probably need some coffee, too. So, yeah.
yeah. I'm always a little, excited to be on these radio shows because it's so cool, man, especially now with this whole pandemic thing. It's so great to touch base with people around the world and, chit-chat. And, it's like such a getaway, right? It's a little bit of a release as well. So it's this is the new wave of social connection, I guess. And it's cool to be here.
Yeah, and of course, getaway merely went getting away, but now it's like our getaway is just, more, not just 6 feet of social distancing, but also just reaching out to people around the world. You're right, and you don't need to leave your home, which is great. So,
yeah, well, it really works out for me sometimes because I'm a little bit of an introvert anyway. So staying at home isn't, that bothersome for me as it might be for most other people. I mean, I'm so. Especially over the last few weeks anyway, being, essentially living in the studio, getting this record done. And so I was honestly just stuck in the studio for so long. I didn't sort of even really have the time or the concerns to worry about going out or anything, But yeah, it's, cool.
Well, we're glad you're here as well, too, and having a little cup of coffee or tea or beer or wine, wherever you are in part of the world, and we're at 24/7, 365, and you're on the Mike Wagner Show. And you had a few of EPs out as well, too. Leo's Guitars, Zephyr's debut, and you also had a couple others as well, too. You made your debut with the Deep Impactors in 04, and also influences like, say, with Dire Straits, Led Zeppelin, John Lee Hooker, and more. You've been in business for quite some time. And before we get into all that with your new EPs, and especially your latest, tell us how you got started career-wise.
Yeah, I guess, it's to me, I always... I'm so definitive in my origin point of where it all began, and it's so easy to recollect. And I guess primarily because growing up in sort of a couple of decades gone by, I think culture was a bit more structured in the way it was sort of transmitted from whether it was film or whether it was music. And one of the cool things was the connection we had with the generation before us, right? So it wasn't like I was in my teenage years, that was the 90s and stuff, but I still had that sort of connection to the music that came way before me, which was what essentially say my parents were listening to, or the generation before that was. So that level of sort of bleed through that we had and that connectivity with previous generations, that way culture was a lot more, like I said, it was more regimented in how it was transmitted. Because again, the medium was just what, CDs or, prior to that, records and so on and so forth. So you always had that material artifact to fall back upon, whether it was your dad's CD collection or something along those lines. So anyway, I still remember the first movie I ever saw was Star Wars, and the first song I ever listened to was Money for Nothing. And again, it's such an sonic onslaught, right, for a 4-year-old kid, that I was like, all right, well, I guess from that moment, I always knew the guitar would have some role in my life, because, I was always like, wow, that's what I want to do, right? I mean, that's got to be the coolest job in the world. Unfortunately, it doesn't work out that way, right? So fast forward, 2000s, living in Canada, had this band, 3-piece band called Deep and Mars Watts and the Deep Impactors. The name goes to show how much cheap beer we were consuming at that point. And the music was nowhere near as good as we thought it was, again. So that didn't last for long. But then, believe it or not, I actually dropped out of music. And so for a decade or so, I didn't even touch the guitar. And again, just being very jaded, disillusioned with the whole music scene, life got in the way, making ends meet, all that stuff, all that jazz. And then a few years ago, it was as if, that kid inside me, I mean, again, once you're in that sort of rock and roll lifestyle, right, it just never leaves you, right? And after a while, there's this sort of aching, all right, I gotta do this at least once, right? I gotta give this one more shot. And so I did, I got back into it, but honestly, this time with a much more appreciative and much more intensive understanding of what blues and rock and roll really is, and what it actually laid out before as a pathway to becoming a true blues musician, even though mine is much more oriented towards rock. Still, I mean, I sort of use those blues influences, but what comes out is much more rock and roll. But this time it was very, 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 for lack of better words, it was very structured, right? And there was a definitive rationale that this is what I want to do, and I'll give it one more shot. If nothing else, just for my own sort of therapeutic appeasement, I guess. So December 2019, I released Leo's Guitar. A couple of months later, I released my accidental EP called Zephyrs, which really wasn't part of the plan, but it's again, it's a much more melancholic experimental record. So I was like, you know what, life's all about gambles, man. So I'll put it out there, and now I feel like I'm on a bit of a roll, right? I guess it was like a decade-long collection of ideas that were just sort of circulating in my head, which are just coming out now on the guitar and music and stuff. And so now I've got the third EP coming out, which is On the Pull. But like I was telling you, this record, though, I mean, you can hold me to this. I know every band, whenever they're releasing a new record, it's always the greatest record ever, right?
I read the reviews all the time. They say best record ever, and it's like 5-10 years later, it sucks. That's happened too many times. I'll tell you a story about it off the air where one reviewer said, "This is the best record ever," and then 10 years later, it's ranked one of the worst. I know that feeling, I'll tell you. And I call myself out in this one as well, so I'm sort of, throwing out these guarantees as well. That look, you can, 10, 15 years from now, you can
you can ask me, like, with all this sort of collection of music that you have, which one's the one record that really was that one moment where you can look back and say that was my identity record? And I think this one's going to be that, because honestly, when I finally finished the mixing and the mastering and everything was done, the production work was done, I had such a hard time letting go, because I literally woke up and it was just done last night, and I woke up today morning and I had that sort of sense of there was this void, right, where all day I was just lying there staring at the ceiling saying, what do I do today, right? So it's a great time to be chit-chatting about it, because I'm still experiencing some degree of withdrawal symptoms from these songs, right, which are now no longer in my control, right? But I'll still, you can hold me to this. I will still say this is my identity record. Hopefully we're speaking sometime in the future, and you can quote me on this one. This will be my identity record.
At least this wasn't accidental like it was with Zephyrs. And, you talked about accidentally releasing Zephyrs. Was it where someone just went ahead and put it out without your permission? Or was it just like, I'm going to do something, all of a sudden, wait, I didn't want to do this. So, how was it like accidental that you released Zephyrs? So that's what I was curious on. It sounds like a really good album.
Yeah, it is. I love that record. It's really, but in the sort of I'd say in the transition or the chronological order, I would always figure that a record like that would probably come out maybe, having a few blues records behind me, right? And, just trying a gamble or trying something different. But again, for this one, for Zephyrs as well, to the origin point, I still remember one night I was listening to, I'm a huge Tom Petty fan, right? Huge Tom Petty fan. And so I was listening to his record called Echoes, and I love the title track of that. And it was on loop, right? So that song was playing and playing and playing. And I always, for the last, decade or so, I had these couple of these ballads sitting in my, which I had written, but they were on the shelf. And so I just, I was so inspired at that point. I started recording this one track, which was called Zephyrs. And one thing led to another. And so I ended up recording, and to me, it sounded so good. Right. I mean, your own music sounds phenomenal to you, right? And it sounded so good. And I was like, you know what? Let me just carry on with this, right? I mean, I'm on this, I've got this momentum, and I like that sort of melancholic element to it. And, next thing so the entire EP is done, right? And so I'll always sort of, in a good way, I'll always, in a very affectionate way, I'll always consider it my accidental EP in terms of the chronology where I was supposed to be going with my music, though.
Mm-hmm. And what was the idea of come up with the name Zephyrs in the your release? What was the idea behind that?
Just the lyrics worked out that way, right? So I guess it was just trying to be a little bit more pretentious with my lyrics, and, rather than. And I still remember I was sitting and one of my buddies was previewing, and he's like, "Why are you using? Why don't you just say breeze, right?" I mean, that's what it's after. And I was like, come on, man, it sounds a little cooler, right? It's got a little bit more, but somehow Zephyrs makes it sound a lot more intellectual than it actually is. I don't know, so, yeah.
I was going to say, you put the Z on it, think of Zorro, if you put the Z on it.
Yeah. That would have been, hype it up a little bit more, right? Yeah. But even for that record, I mean, the fact that there's Zephyrs itself is 7 minutes long, and there's another track there, Hold Me in Your Smile, which is 8 minutes long. And, honestly, it was really interesting coming back to music after this whole sort of hiatus, and not realizing that these sort of 7 minute, 8 minute tracks no longer really have I don't want to say selling point or an audience, but in general, I mean, I guess for the purists, they'll tend to be a bit more appreciative of these songs. And that was a little bit of a gamble that I did take, but I didn't want to negotiate the entire process and the songwriting process. So I went along with it. Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, but as accidental as it was, it still means a lot to me.
And plus, you also released South of Yesterday, Tracy's Ballad, and Dorian's Lament as well, too. And of course, you got Two in the Band, and tell us about the rest of those songs.
Yeah, that's a couple of them off the Leo's Guitar EP, which came out in December. So that had Two in the Bush, Lighten the Howlin', Dorian's Lament, and Leo's Guitar itself. That's an instrumental title track, and that the title track actually started it off, and it's got a really interesting story to it, because again, honestly, I mean, this time round, and I'm not ashamed of this at all, in the sense to me, I think the rediscovery of blues music was a game changer, and part of me owes so much to going back to history and getting a lot of these records out, re-experiencing them with a sense of appreciation that I didn't have before. And so at an academic level as well, I was so fascinated going back to the roots of everything. You take a song like Rollin' and Tumbling, right? And you look at the history behind it. So whether it's listening to Clapton's version, then going back to Robert Johnson's version, then going back even further. And suddenly I was like, wow, there's this, again, I keep saying this, beyond this macro world, there's this whole catalog of music out there that needs to be preserved, right? And so from at a very, very microscopic level, I mean, that's what the intent is for me as well, that somehow take that tradition, preserve it, not having that fear of being traditional about how I write my music and how I record and how I put it out there, in the hope that, those who like that level of purity will dig that, will dig my music at least, that look, at least he's trying, right? That there's a deliberate move to preserve that tradition. So yeah, Leo's Guitar, and in fact, Leo's Guitar is named for Leo Fender, because again, that was my tribute to. I'm a huge Fender fanatic. I have an entire collection of Fenders. So I actually named it Leo's Guitar because as a tribute to, again, an American cultural artifact, an American. It's part of American history and the Fender, and so as a tribute, I was like, look, this is what this beautiful culture gave us, right? So even the guitar is part of that culture, right? You take a Fender and instantly it's associated with blues music. So that was my tiny little tribute to such a historic guitar. So yeah, that's the little bit of the story behind Leo's Guitar, and then again, Zephyrs was. Once I got on a roll, honestly, and I wasn't even going to put any of this stuff out there, right? It was just like, I'll just do it, maybe I'm going through a midlife crisis. I don't know, right?
Aren't we all in a midlife crisis? I'll tell you that with a pandemic.
It's such a different way. I don't know, it'll be interesting the next few months in the future, right? How everyone's going to come out of it on the other side. It'll be interesting to see how this plays out. But I think I found my footing now, and this, going back to music and stuff, it's so therapeutic, especially at this time as well, right? So you can, you do the stuff and stay occupied, kills your time, and and it's that level of creativity is, man, just listen to that final product. It's so exhilarating, right? So that sense of reward is amazing as well. And I'm guessing now so many musicians are probably out there recording stuff. There's so much music coming out soon, yeah.
And that's amazing as well, too. We'll talk more about your influences, your latest release. But first, listen to The Mike Wagner Show at themikewagnershow.com, powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at sonicwebstudios.com for all your needs. Look at a professional website without breaking your budget. Sonic Web Studios is the answer. Sonic Web Studios offers fast, affordable custom web designs that blow the competition away. Call today, 1-800-303-3960. That's 1-800-303-3960. Or email to support@sonicwebstudios.com. Mention The Mike Wagner Show Show. Get 10% off your first order. Sonic Web Studios, take your image to the next level. Also, the Mike Wagner Show can be heard on the MikeWagnerShow.com. You can check our Facebook page at Facebook.com/The Mike Wagner Show. You can download and listen on Facebook, SoundCloud, Spreaker, Spotify, and over 35 podcast platforms, including iHeartRadio, iTunes, Google Play, Apple, and more, as well as Anchor FM. Take the Mike Wagner Show on any mobile device. Subscribe to the Mike Wagner Show on the YouTube channel. Also follow the Mike Wagner Show on Instagram and Twitter today. We're here with Izzie from Izzie's Caravan from Finland here on the Mike Wagner Show, talking about Leo's guitars, Zephyrs, and quite a few releases as well, too, and make a nice comeback in music. And you talk about these influence you had with Tom Petty, Buddy Guy, Led Zeppelin, and all the other mentions as well, too. And who are some of your other influences that shape you as well, besides blues, rock, and everything else? Who are some of your other favorite artists?
Definitely. Like I said, on the pole, I fully, again, very affectionately, I call it my Johnny Winter record. I love Johnny Winter. Dude. This guy was just absolute, it's like, it's that level of energy is unparalleled, right? I mean, and so when I even started writing it, I had these ideas, and I really stress for even young guitar players and stuff that, when you listen to a lot of these guys, don't try and just mimic them, right? But use them as a reference point to sort of build your own identity. So what I do a lot is I listen to a lot of music. And so going back prior to recording On the Pole, I was really, really, really investing a lot of time in old Johnny Winter records and stuff, and getting a feel of what he does. So even this record, I mean, again, I'm not saying it's anywhere near as good as what he did, right? Or sort of elevating myself to his status. I do Johnny Winter records now, right? But using that as a platform to create your identity and your sound, right? That was really fun. So Johnny Winter is a huge influence. Buddy Guy is, he's an American treasure, but he's a global icon, right? I mean, this man is just a walking, encyclopedia of the blues, right? I mean, what a trip it must be to, having lived that life, right? So he's a huge influence. Going back even further, Lightning Hopkins is a big, big, big influence on me. I mean, he's a giant. And listening to his records was really, really cool because they're just so raw, and that's where everything was sort of kicking off, and the stories these guys tell that really fascinates me as well. And they were so unapologetic about what they did, right? They weren't bound by these sort of compulsions that you have nowadays, particularly with the guitar and stuff. That you got to play this fast, and you got to have this equipment, this pedal, and this. That's when you're going to be classified as a good musician. I think listening to a lot of these guys also breaks away those artificial layers that young guitar players may put on themselves, that they feel that there's this compulsion to play fast and technical and virtuosity and these fancy terms that are thrown about. So in terms of feel, I was just listening to guys like Buddy Guy, Johnny Winter, of course, Clapton. Wow. What do you say about Clapton, right? I mean,
one of my faves, a legend. He's great in concert too. I'll tell you that. He is fantastic.
Yeah, and that's a cool thing. What I really listen to a lot is their live videos and stuff. Because you just pick up on these little, nuanced sort of playing styles and these little quirks that they have when they play live. That's when you're like, wow, that's what he's so that's all. But Clapton, dude, what do you say about this guy? I mean, and he's always so humble, and just gets up on stage. I was watching one of his Crossroads concerts, and he's there in his, blue button-down shorts and his bizarre footwear, and that's it, but he just, who cares, right? What he played was just,
As long as you get up and play. And I remember watching him in Chicago with my wife, and we had the obstructed view seats, and he went backstage behind the bongo drummer and played for the ones in the obstructed view. He does it for everybody, make sure everybody's accommodated. That's the type of people I love having as well. So that's just amazing, how they go to lengths, almost like Bruce Springsteen, playing every note for every fan, making sure everybody's accommodated.
Yeah. And that's where going to live shows is such a treat, right? And that's when you really sort of realize that, rock and blues, and, when it's sitting at a club or watching, Rolling Stones with 59,000 other people, right? That trip is, it's a lifelong experience. And, like we're talking about it right now. I mean, just, for Clapton, I mean, doing something like that probably was just natural to him. But for a fan, you take that away as being such a profound experience in your life. That, wow, look at this guy, right? I mean, he got up and came behind the bongo drum to just accommodate the rest of the audience as well. So that's such a cool feeling.
Mm-hmm. It is too, and of course you talked about taking a little bit of this, taking a little bit of that, and everything else. So it sounds like what you did for On the Pole, like say, took a bit of Eric Clapton, a bit of Buddy Guy, or a bit of Muddy Waters, Led Zeppelin, Tom Petty. Took a bit of those and formed them all to form your sound on your latest On the Pole. That's what it sounds like.
Yeah, that's what it is. In all honesty, it's again, it's nowhere. I sort of have that level of conscious humility to never sort of compare myself to them, because they did it so well, right? I mean, who's ever going to match what Stevie Ray did, right? Or Tom Petty's songwriting skills. I mean, it was, some people just are so gifted. But that's what we can do, right? I mean, especially now, because, there is a void. And of course, a lot of these things are debatable, but there is a void. I mean, these guys, they've lived their lives and they're making way. I mean, on a tragic level, you had Little Richard pass away recently, and there's no more Chuck Berry, no more. Mm-hmm. So there is that void that needs to be filled, because I don't think the blues is going anywhere. I mean, we can debate to death about, rock is dead and right? But the blues is there. I mean, it's an unshakable foundation. And I think that void, again, I'm not saying I'm the guy to fill it, but I'm sure, maybe a few people can pick up my record and say, okay, at least there's that sense of traditionalism, which I'm really proud of. I really, it's raw, it's gritty and grimy. I deliberately try to make it sound slightly unproduced. I do appreciate that whole sort of, I come from that Lighton Hopkins school where when, listening to his records, you could see that he's just playing on the spot. In some songs, you can tell that the producers told him, cut it off. And you see that vague sort of abrupt ending. So I like that authenticity. And on this record, I really picked up on that level of authenticity. And you'll even hear that there are a couple of notes which are not, and I'm saying that that's what it was, because I played it as raw and live as I possibly could from a very deliberate standpoint.
Mm-hmm. And what are your thoughts on today's blues?
I like it. Of course, sometimes, just again, getting back into this and being on a lot of these shows and stuff, it was really cool because I heard a lot of artists that I would probably never have heard of before. So again, sort of connecting back into this business and seeing, having that level of exposure, being on radio shows and stuff, podcasts and stuff. And suddenly a lot of these artists are coming, at least in my line of vision. And I'm like, wow, these guys are doing phenomenal stuff, and kudos to them, right? They're also, so it's just not me, right? It's just, there are a lot of people out there who are still upholding those sort of traditions and values and keeping that music, not alive, but keeping that music going. So it's awesome, right?
And that sounds amazing, too. We'll talk about On the Pole and what's coming up next in 2020 for Izzie's Caravan. But first, listen to the Mike Wagner Show at themikewagnershow.com, powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at sonicwebstudios.com for all your needs. Looking for a professional website without breaking your budget? Sonic Web Studios is the answer. Sonic Web Studios offers fast, affordable custom web designs that blow the competition away. Call today at 1-800-303-3960. That's 1-800-303-3960. Or email to support@sonicwebstudios.com. Mention the Mike Wagner Show, get 10% off your first order. Sonic Web Studios, take your image to the next level. Also, the Mike Wagner Show can be heard on the MikeWagnerShow.com. You can check our Facebook page at facebook.com/the Mike Wagner Show. You can download and listen to over 35 podcast platforms on Facebook, SoundCloud, Spreaker, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Anchor FM, along with iTunes, Google Play, Apple, and more. Take the Mike Wagner Show with you on any mobile device. Subscribe to the Mike Wagner Show on the YouTube channel. Also follow the Mike Wagner Show on Instagram and Twitter today. We're here with Izzie from Izzie's Caravan here on the Mike Wagner Show, talking about the history of blues, his influences, and also his EPs, Leo's Guitars, Zephyrs, and a lot more. And let's talk about your latest that's coming up around June or so. It's called On the Pole. And tell us all about the album and what influenced you to come out with On the Pole.
Yeah, so this was, again, this is, I affectionately call it my Johnny Winter record. And it's literally like getting into a Corvette and just gunning it, right? It's an absolute, it's something where if I'll ask myself, hey, what do I want to listen to when I'm going on a drive? And it's as if this is the answer to that question, right? This is what I want to listen to when I'm in the car. It's fast. It's complete from the get-go, from the first second. It literally fires in all cylinders, right to the last door of the EP. And I actually like the idea of EPs now because they, it's rather than sort of spending more time with the album, that sort of circulation rate is much faster. But with this EP, it's just rapid fire rock and roll, right? Blues and rock. So it's got 4 tracks. The first one's called On the Pole. The second one's called Drowning Man's Blues. That's one of my favorite songs I've ever written. And again, you can hold me to this, right? A decade from now, you ask me, this is still one of my favorite tunes that I've written personally. And it's a really cool song. In fact, I'm just getting a lyrics video made for it as well. And it's just about some degree of escapism. So it's my tribute to the Delta in Mississippi, where a lot of the blues came from, and it's a sort of this fiction piece where this guy is going through a rough point in his life, and all he wants to do is go to the Mississippi and play the blues, right? So in essence, it's about me seeing the world through my eyes, but through this, character in the song. And it's just a really, really cool song. A lot of loud guitars, fast. So it should be fun. Then there's another track called Boneyard Blues, which is just naughty. Right. It's just a downright naughty track. And we figured, hey man, let's have a little bit of fun with this one. But it's really funky. It's got a cool blues shuffle. In fact, one of the chorus, not the chorus, sorry, the solo part and stuff. I remember when I was putting, I was actually listening to a lot of Little Richard at that point, and just the way it's so upbeat, the grooves and the shuffles and stuff. So the cool thing was the solo part of it was actually a shuffle that I got the idea from listening to Little Richard, and so that was cool. And then the last one is called Whiskey Alley Blues, which is again, it's sort of like a really bluesy fiction piece of fiction around the whole sort of Robert Johnson story, right? With the whole going to the crossroads and this, that, so it's just a play on that. And it was really cool doing that as well, just sort of deviating from that story a little bit. It's, by having that whole sort of journey where this guitar player goes to the crossroads, and, he wants to play at this place called the Whiskey Alley Blues and stuff. So in a way, it's a really, really fun bluesy rock record, something that I'm personally really proud of. I mean, I didn't get, like I said, when the production finished, it was so hard letting go because I had so much fun with this record. I had so much fun. And I'm kind of like a little, like I said, experiencing some degree of withdrawal down. And I don't have to get up and, lay down a track or play a solo or do something. But it's a really fun blues record.
It sounds like it as well, too. A little bit of rock and roll hoochie coo. So don't forget that. Your influence, Johnny Winters. So,
yeah.
And of course, you can also find On the Pole as well, too. And if you want to hear the full song On the Pole, the title track, you can listen to the audio version of the Mike Wagner Show. And Izzie, just a few more things before we go here. And you've been fantastic. Love to have you back on again soon. And what are your upcoming plans for 2020 and beyond? What can we expect on you?
I would have really loved to have taken this EP on the road, but that's not going to work out. So, and again, it's I guess I don't learn my lessons, right? And already I'm looking to a December release for my next EP. So, like I said, I've got so many tunes lying around, and I figured, what? Let's just keep this going. Let's keep this momentum going. So we're already laying, in the sense, mentally, I've got the ideas. Probably I'm going to take a week off, get my bearings right, recalibrate a little bit, and start recording again, man. So yeah, I'll be December next release already, and then hopefully next year really hit the road a little bit. Do some shows. That's what we live for, right? So that's a whole objective kind of. So too bad.
Sounds great.
Yeah.
Sounds great. We're looking forward to having a guy in 2020 and keep us up to date. And who do you consider biggest influence in your career?
In terms of musical influences, or just
it can be music, it can be anybody or whatsoever. So you can pick and choose.
Honestly, right now I gotta give a shout out to Michael Stover from MTS, who does all my publicity and stuff. This guy, literally, man, he took a gamble on me. He's just the most supportive influence I have right now. Always positive, always upbeat, and he's really given me that sort of psychological boost. Because look, it's tough in this business, especially now, right? And I honestly, when I came back, I didn't know anything about all the changes, tech changes, how to navigate in this sort of complex business, and I don't lose a minute of sleep about this stuff now. This is the level of belief and confidence that I have, and he's been just the rock on which I do this now. So big shout out to him.
That's fantastic, and one of the best as well too. And what's the best advice you can give to anybody at this point?
Based on this, I think at this point, honestly, some degree of introspection is so important right now. This is, being in this regulated and in this new, completely new phenomenon that none of us have ever experienced. It's a good time to get to know yourself a little bit, right? And maybe, if you've had a passion in life that you've always been hesitant in following, this might be a really great time to pick up that guitar or that piano or that violin, whatever you want to write a book, a children's story, or something, anything. There's just, everything is so accessible now, and this is some level of productivity and introspection based on who you are and what you always wanted to do. I say follow that right now. This is the best time to do.
And I think that's the best advice there is. Once again, Izzie from Izzie's Caravan, a big thank you for your time. You've been fantastic. Learned a lot from you. Looking forward to you having again soon, sometime in 2020 and beyond. Before we go, tell us about your upcoming projects. What's your website? How do people contact you? Where can people purchase or listen to your music?
Yeah, just head out to www.izziescaravan.com. That's what all the latest is on all the previous stuff. All the previous music is up there. The new stuff, all the latest on the new records, some good reads, fun interviews and stuff. So yeah, check out the website. It's loaded, it's packed with stuff. Check out my stuff on YouTube and being an introvert, yes, I guess having an Instagram account is now a compulsion, and I do have that. But yeah, if you like to see pictures, I mean, I know what I look like, so I don't put up a lot of pictures of myself. I don't know how to take a selfie, honestly. But if you want to see some cool pictures of guitars and my cat, who's my best friend, head out to Izzie's Caravan on Instagram and delve into my life a little bit, man. Yeah.
Sounds great, Izzie. Once again, Izzie's from Izzie Caravan. Big thank you for your time. You've been fantastic. Looking forward to hearing you again soon. Do us a favor, keep this up to date. Love you have back on 2020 and beyond. You've been fantastic.
Cheers, man. It was amazing. Thank you for having me.
And here we go.
In a limousine, get the bar for gasoline. Jack the Series in a bunch of seeds. She spread herself like a Dairy Queen. She drove me wild, turned on style, and then she stole my toaster and she fled the scene.
Thanks for listening to the Mike Wagner Show, powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at sonicwebstudios.com for all your needs. The Mike Wagner Show can be heard on Spreaker, Spotify, iHeartRadio, iTunes, YouTube, Anchor FM, Radio Public, and themikewagnershow.com. Please support our program with your donations at themikewagnershow.com. Join us again next time for another great episode of The Mike Wagner Show.